Howdy once again, it's Tubalcain, your YouTube shop teacher, and I'm standing outside this old shed here of my neighbors. Of course, my neighbors are my grandkids and my daughter. So why am I at the old shed? Well, follow me into the shed and I'll show you why. My grandson, there might be an echo in here, Jordan, has turned into quite a sportsman. And you can see here in his shed that he's got some ducks hanging there, duck decoys, and there's his tree stand and more hunting paraphernalia. But there's half a dozen decoys right there. And the subject of this video is I'm going to show you how to make a mold, and with the mold, how to make these 6-ounce lead weights for the decoy. So he needs a whole bunch of them. So swinging around to the other side here, you can see he's got some goose decoys there, but here's a whole pile of duck decoys. I don't know how many, but you know, just a whole load of them. And he needs weights. So I'm going to show you how to make a 3D printed mold, then cast it into aluminum, and then finally cast the lead into the aluminum mold, which would be very similar to a sinker mold, like for fishing. So let's get started. Well, my grandson Jordan is kind of impatient, as all teenagers are. He's 17. And of course I've been already working on this mold for 2 weeks, and in the meantime, in about 15 minutes, he took 2x4s, clamped them together, drilled a dozen holes in there with a 1-inch spade bit, and they are about 2 inches deep. And his plan is to just simply pour the lead into those cavities, and simple enough. And then open it up, and ta-da, there you got it. The only problem is that then you have to drill a hole in lead, and we can do that easily enough on the lathe, but one at a time. So the idea here with my mold is that there will be a core in there, and the hole for the cable or string will be cast right in. So just have to drill out the core, which will be wood if this works out, and the hole is ready to go. Also, I like the shape. You know, it's going to be shaped like a goose egg rather than a cylinder. Not that it matters to the ducks. You know, there are plenty of ways to make a mold like this. I could have started with a piece of wood or a piece of metal or clay, just countless other ways, plaster, but I decided to try this with 3D printing by way of Tinkercad. Now, Thingiverse would work too if you know the different CAD programs, but this is the simple one. But what I did here is made a rectangular box. It's 120 millimeters by 80, and those are all arbitrary figures. And if you want to do this, you can go to Tinkercad and use my pattern here. But in rolling it over, can you see the egg-shaped? I don't know how well that's showing up. The egg shape here and the core prints, and then of course the hole to pour the lead in. I changed the color to see if it would show up any better, and it really doesn't show up too well on the bottom side. But then I have exported this into my slicer, which is Cura. So let's take a look at it in Cura. Alright, here it is in Cura, the slicing program. Maybe some of you don't know what I'm talking about here, but you can see the different views of it. But the reason I'm showing you this is the beauty is, let's say that I cast up the lead weights and they're not heavy enough, and I said, oh, I wish I'd have made it a little bigger. Well, all I got to do to make it a little bigger or a little smaller is to click on it here, and so instead of it being 80 millimeters, let's say, which is 100%, I could change it to, well, I'll just say 100 millimeters. Now it is larger. I don't know what the weight would be, but that quickly it is larger, and it could be printed that size or whatever size you want, 2 halves or just 1 half, and it is, you know, a different size mold cavity. So that's what's so awesome about this. But some people aren't able to connect with how powerful this is, even in a simplified program. And remember, I know nothing about high tech. I'm still a buggy whip maker at heart. Now, one thing that I did not do is to put in the alignment pin holes. There should be one right about where the arrow is now, and maybe another one over here, or one here and one here, so that the two halves could be aligned. And the reason I didn't do that is because I don't understand the math here, and I will drill those holes later on, and that'll be part of the video, so you see how I do that. But it certainly could be done if you knew how to do it, and this would be done even better, I think, in Fusion 360, but I do not have the knowledge of that, and so I'm just going at this alone. So, all right, that's how Cura works, and that's how Tinkercad works, and then it's ready to print out. Put it on a disc or a card right from here and into the Creality printer, print it out. Here I am at the Creality CR10 printer, and this half of the mold is just about done. There's about an hour left. Can you see the grid work back here? So that's been 5 hours. So it's about a 6-hour print in all. And there, of course, is the other half finished. Well, there it is. It's a 6-hour print. Looking pretty good, but it usually takes a little blasting powder to get it off of the table, even though I use this, which is supposed to help it release, but we'll see. There it is. Alright, I have 2 of these now, so I'm ready to go out to the molding bench, but I think just for the heck of it here, I'm going to print one more in a larger size just to show you. Now, the actual cavity here has a little bit of roughness to it from the layers. I don't know if it's apparent in the video or not, but that'll be picked up in by the sand. Probably I should take some spot and glaze or body putty, you know, and wipe it. But initially I'm not going to do that, but that certainly would be a possibility. Pretty good finish though. Now, I wanted to point out that, did you notice that I printed it this way, not like this? Because if I printed it with the cavity down like that, it requires support, and then the support always gives a rough finish, at least it does on this printer. So this is getting, it's really quite smooth other than the layers. Alright, I'm going back to Cura and make another version of this larger, perhaps 10 or 20% larger than this. I printed another mold half, and it looks, I know, like the other ones, but of course it's not. I made it larger. So look at the difference in the size of the egg cavity. Cavity, that is. You know, there's the original, and much bigger right there. I don't know just how much bigger. This is 125% of the other one. Just showing you could make them any size you want. The only thing that didn't occur to me at that time was that the groove here, the core print, is no longer 1/8 inch. It is considerably larger, well, 25% larger, and I would need, if I want to have it centered, a larger dowel, which probably would be about 5/32. I don't think I can buy one that size, so this would, the 1/8 inch would still lay in there. It just would wobble around and probably not be on the center. I don't know if I'm going to make any of the bigger ones. This is just an illustration to show you how really neat this is. So now I'll pry this off of my my bed here. You can see it's higher too. I'm at the molding bench, and I'm going to show very little of the actual molding because I've done too much of that and there's minimal interest in it. So there are the 2 halves. They're small enough to where they'll fit in this one smaller flask, 10 by 12. This is the larger one. I have no intention of doing this anyway, but Well, maybe 2 would fit in there. I'm not sure, but one thing I'm going to do here is that, and it's hard to explain, but you'll just have to watch, is that I want to make sure that when I pour the castings that it doesn't shrink any in here. This is relatively thick, and generally there's going to be at least some shrinkage depending on how I riser it. So I'm going to make sure that in the end, when I pour the metal in, that flat part is facing up, because that's where the shrinkage will occur. I don't want it to occur there. So that's how they will fit. This is the drag portion, which normally is on the bottom, but in the end it's going to end up on the top. Well, you don't know what I'm talking about. I barely understand it myself, but I think I'm going to use this huge sprue as a combination riser and sprue, maybe 1 on each. I haven't decided. That's 7 minutes away, and I don't like to think too far ahead. So I will ram this up and not show any of that. See you in a second. The drag has been rammed up, and you can see the 2 patterns. This is the cope, so I'll go ahead and ram that, and then again repeating, I'm going to turn the whole thing upside down and put the sprues in the drag. I won't show that, but I'll show you here in a second what it looks like. I'm ready to separate the cope from the drag. You know, I was just thinking as I was doing this, you know what hurts my feelings? Well, just about everything does, but sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 weeks to make a video. The planning, the execution, all the work and everything, maybe even spending money on something. And then the only comment I get from some people, this is a rarity, but is that I misspelled a word. That's their only comment. They mention nothing else. So, but some people like to show their superiority, and in fact, yeah, all right, I'll let that go. Adam said, let it go. Let it go. You can't get away from people like that. We all have worked with them and, you know, suffered through life with them. Let me do. All right, off topic, sorry. No, I'm not sorry. Looks something like that. And, you know, there's just a little bit of sand that's stuck in the core prints. Now, that's really not going to hurt anything other than I'm always working for perfection, and I never get there, do I? So I just meant, see, I could put a big old sprue here and one here, but I don't know. Is that a waste? All right, let me do it. Get on with it. You know what the kids would do at school? I had these brass things. To get the sand out, they would beat on it, and there would just be hundreds of nicks and marks, and then the sand really wouldn't release. Funny how I remember some things like that. That's when I started using sewer pipe. I could get at Ace Hardware instead of sending away for those expensive tapered sprue cutters, and in the end, nobody cared anyway, you know. Or knew the difference, I should say. All right, and I'll cut a nice gate right here and here. I wrapped on the patterns rather thoroughly, two minutes worth. Notice there's a little slot there and there for me to pick it up because I have provided no screw holes to withdraw it. But I expect these to be a little bit hard to pull out because the very nature of a printed pattern. And by the way, I printed these out almost you know, the lowest resolution, so you can see a lot of layering, because even at that, you know, these were 6 or 7 hours, and I didn't want to prolong it and then have failures, so, and use up too much filament. So anyway, they're a little bit rough here. In other words, there's thousands of undercuts. So will it withdraw? That is the question at hand. Will it withdraw without... Yeah, see, I banged it pretty nicely, and... Huh. All right, it came out. Now let me reassemble it. And sand rammer, I know you're watching. How would you have gated it? What was the Navy way? What would Admiral Zumwalt have done? Alright, that is ready to pour, and I notice a lot of the internet YouTube creators that do molding also put an extension on here. I've never really done that. These are only 3-inch copes and drags, but it's nice to have, well, I'll call it a head with a lot of weight on it. Now, those are, I don't think I need any weight on this, but if it was cast iron or brass, I would put clamps or a weight across there. So, like it's not 100 degrees already outside today here, it's July 1st, I think I'll add to the heat by firing up the furnace. And I'll just show when I pour it in and then when I break it out. We'll see how these turn out. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your support. It's been a full hour. It'll still be plenty hot, but let's have a look. That half looks pretty good, doesn't it? I have to admit. Still warm. Note, this surprises me that there's virtually no shrinkage there. Usually on a big riser there's a sinkhole, but evidently I didn't check the temperature, but it would have been about 1250 or 1300. This will all clean up very easily. You saw that off. Ooh, that's hot. This one the same. The question is just how rough is it in here in regards to me now pouring the lead in there. Well, as a special treat to myself, off camera, matter of fact I think I did this one yesterday. I don't know why I'm using this. That thing's now remember, that's the one with the small sprue on it. So maybe it didn't make a blame bit of difference whether I used the big one or the small one. Now, as these cool, I'm going to go down the basement, summarize this. This is a two-part video. Talk just a little bit about it, and then in the next part, 2, I will clean them up, drill alignment pins, enlarge the pouring basin here. Now, what also surprised me, remember I was very worried about shrinkage, mainly in here, so that those two surfaces would not be flat and close very well. But the way I did it, of course, there could be no shrinkage on this side, but I'm surprised to see that there isn't at least a little bit of a shrink hole on this side. And when I get downstairs, I'll lay a straight edge on there and see what it looks like. So, see you momentarily in the cool, cool, cool of the evening. Alright, I'm down in the basement now and it's nice and cool down here, and I know I talk a lot about the temperature, but I don't know. I have a temperature comfort range of anywhere between 72 and 79. So maybe I got a bad... I don't perspire much, so I don't have a built-in cooling system. Alright, every time I go to an auction or a garage sale, I buy a bunch of stuff, and I'm belittled for that, although some of you like it, but many of the items that I buy serve to inspire me. And that's part of the reason that I do it. And I'm working on umpteen videos, and I don't know, I've been quite prolific, if you don't mind me boasting, and I hate boastful people, but I was very prolific this summer. I'm not releasing all the videos at the same time. I'm spreading them out because people don't watch videos in the summer to speak of. But I just did these eagles. Maybe you saw that, or maybe it's not out yet. I bought this at a garage sale for $1. Another garage sale that I went to the other day, just in town here. And it's the rigid Versamatic. I'm going to do a video on how that works, probably in my How It Works series. I haven't done one of those in ages. Remember when I bought these recently, and I said, what kind of abrasive they are? You know, several people said, you moron. That's not an abrasive. These are sandblasting tips. Well, the fact that it said sand all on there, I'm thinking, you know, it's something to do. It's a hone. So I was wrong on that, but you were right. So, a little sidetracked here. All kinds of other projects going on. So keep watching the videos. And so, back to this now. There's the patterns, 3D patterns, and you can probably hear my 3D printer in the background, and I know you hate that. As a matter of fact, it is rather annoying. But I must confess that it's great to have a lot of inspiration and things to do. My brother, again, if I haven't told the story, has a friend out in Cody, Wyoming, and every day at breakfast he spends most of the time lamenting, what to do today? What to do? He's got nothing to do. He's just a bored old man, but I just got a million things to do. And thank the Lord, good enough health to where I'm able to do it. And then I talked to a buddy, Chet, over in Webster Park, Webster twee, and he's got a million jobs. He won't even take time to have lunch with you. He's just so busy, and he's my age. And he said that it is an absolute blessing to have so many things to do that you will never finish them in your lifetime. So that's great. All right, back. I keep saying getting back here. This is a Brown and Sharp straight edge. Not that I need anything that accurate, but you know, we're just wondering how flat this is. I don't care how flat it is on this side, but it is reasonably flat. But no, you do see a little bit of a sink there in the middle, don't you? Luckily we don't care on that side, do we? Yeah, we got sink in here, but not here, where the two halves have to have a semi-good seal. But you know, when I pour lead in there, it's semi-viscous. And you know, it's not a problem. You see I did cool this off. So there we got, I really have 3 halves in this size, and if I ever would want a larger one, I got 1/2 already. I doubt I'll do that. That was all just to illustrate the versatility of what I'm doing here. And then again, you know, there's a learning curve here. So when I did the 3D in Tinkercad, I should have had a round end on this, or a tapered end, so that it would lift out. In fact, that square on the end, which is why I had a little sand fall in there. Well, that couldn't matter less, because that stick, I guess that's upstairs, you know, I don't have to have it go all the way to the end. That's a core print. That's a core print. And again, shoot, how wide did that end up being? Instead of 1/8 of an inch, it's well, 150 thousandths approximately. And I spoke of that a few minutes ago here. I'm talking too much. There was a whole series of videos on this where I cast the wheels. I talked about mandrels and drilling and reaming and putting the crown on, so watch for that if they're not already released. And the printer that you hear in the background is printing out. I'm finally getting back to the patterns, and I'm going to make an aluminum vise like in Peterson Products. So there's changes on that, and that's what Kevin did for me, so I'm getting back to that. But really, I'm summarizing and finishing this video right now. This is rather rough in here. I believe the lead egg will release, and this is probably smoother than this. But have you noticed here that it really picks up the details? Those little grooves right there, which aren't very, that's just I think where the tip drug on the printer, show up very well right here, don't they? And on the sides, could care less. Alright, in the next video, this is a two-parter, I will saw off the gates, clean that up a little bit. I'm going to dress this, enlarge this hole, put in the alignment pins, and then finally pour a series of the lead decoy weights. And one other thing that I need to do, oh, that didn't quite, I had a little fall in there. That doesn't matter at all because I'm going to drill this larger. Or I'd use that one, doesn't matter. Okay, one other thing I said I was going to do here. Remember, we got pattern draft here. This is tapered. 3-degree taper, right? I will mill that off, but after I have the pins in there, simply so it will set level and not be annoying. But I will probably either have this in a vise or, let's see, with a seat clamp on it when I pour it. Alright, that concludes this rather long part 1. Thanks for watching, and make sure you watch the next part now, because that's where the rubber meets the road, or should I say the lead meets the mold. So have a good summer. Today is the 4th of July 2018. See you in the next video. This is tubalcain, and the sign of our great country, the symbol.